Hey everyone, have you ever stopped to think about the hidden legal drama that might be brewing in your morning cup of coffee? Or, in this case, hot chocolate? Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating puzzle that starts with that exact simple drink. It's a whole story about taxes, what's fair, and a legal showdown that went all the way to the top court in the European Union.
Okay, so let's break this down. At a glance, these two things look almost identical, right? You've got a hot chocolate made for you right there in a cafe, and then you have a pre-packaged chocolate milk you grab off a shelf. They're both non-alcoholic, and this is the key part, they're both basically milk. So why on earth would they be taxed differently?
And this is where things get really interesting. In Poland, that hot chocolate you get at the cafe was getting hit with an 8% value-added tax. That's VAT. But the chocolate milk from the store, just 5%. Now you might think, 3%, what's the big deal? But if you're a business selling thousands of these, that difference adds up fast. It begs the question, what could possibly justify that gap?
Now, this wasn't just some, theoretical puzzle. This was a real-world, high-stakes fight for a Polish coffeehouse chain called ECJ. They saw that 3% difference, and they just knew something wasn't quite right, so they decided to fight it. And their argument? Well, it was pretty straightforward, really. They said, look, our classic hot chocolate is, at its heart, a milk drink. It's just like the stuff you buy in a carton. So in their eyes, they were being overtaxed and should have been paying that lower 5% rate all along. But, and this is a big but, the Polish tax authority saw it completely differently. They basically said, hold on a second, you're not just selling a product, a supply of goods, you're providing a supply of services. Because someone prepares it, heats it up, and serves it to a customer, that whole experience, in their view, was enough to push it into that higher 8% tax category.
So you can see how this whole thing just snowballed. YLD asked for a ruling back in June 2020 and got told, nope, it's 8%. They challenged it, but by the end of the year, the authority just doubled down. But YLD didn't back down. The case went to a regional court, and they realized this question was so fundamental to how EU law works that in 2022 they kicked it all the way up to the very top, the European Court of Justice.
Okay, so to really get what the court was thinking, we have to zoom out a bit and talk about a huge fundamental rule in the EU tax system. It's all about making sure there's a level playing field for every business.
It's a concept called fiscal neutrality. Now that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means that if two products are similar and they compete with each other, you can't treat them differently for tax purposes. If we, as consumers, see them as basically interchangeable, then the tax system should too.
And this isn't just a suggestion, it's literally written right into the EU's VAT directive. The whole point is to prevent the tax system from messing with fair competition. It's all about making sure a little coffee shop and a giant supermarket are playing by the same basic rules, without some weird tax loophole giving one an unfair advantage.
All right, that leads us right to the next big piece of this puzzle, the legal difference between a good and a service. It sounds a little dry and technical, I know, but trust me, it is the absolute heart of this entire case. So, in the world of VAT, a supply of goods is easy. It's just handing over a physical thing, like a carton of milk. A supply of services is pretty much everything else. But the real test is deciding what's the main event here. Is the customer paying mostly for the thing itself or for all the actions and work that come along with it?
So check this out. This is how a simple drink gets this legal makeover. You start with the basic item, a good. Then you start adding what they call ancillary services. Mixing it, heating it, serving it in a nice cup, maybe adding some options. And according to the tax authority, all those little services add up and become so important that, boom, the whole thing transforms into a full-blown restaurant service.
So you've got these two big ideas on the table, this level playing field rule and the whole good versus service debate. The big question is, what did the highest court in the EU do with all this?
And what they did was kind of brilliant, actually. They didn't just give a simple yes or no. Instead, they sent the final decision back down to the Polish court, but they gave them a very specific test to use. And the entire test boils down to this one question, seen through the eyes of the average consumer.
The court's ruling made it crystal clear. The ultimate decider in this case isn't a tax lawyer or some government official. It's us, the average person. Our perception of whether these two products are similar enough is what really matters for the law. So the Polish court now has this checklist. They have to ask, does the fact that one is hot and one is cold have a significant influence on your choice? What about the situation? Are you grabbing it to drink right now or to put it in the fridge for later? Does being able to add whipped cream or a shot of caramel make it a totally different product in your mind? That's the test.
All right, so we've gone all the way to the top court in Europe and back, all over a cup of hot chocolate. So what's the big takeaway from this whole showdown? Why does any of this matter?
It really boils down to this one powerful idea. Context is absolutely everything. This ruling makes it clear that for tax law, the how you sell something, can be just as important, if not more important, than the what. The experience, the service, the perception. It can legally change what the product actually is.
And believe me, the ripple effects from this are massive. It completely blurs that old clear line between just selling a thing and providing a hospitality service. It tells any business that mixes products and services, think meal kit companies or places that customize electronics for you, that how your customers see your final offering is now a major legal factor. It's a huge shift.
And that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Sure, this was about hot chocolate, but the principle here could apply to so many other things. Think about a salad bar, a frozen yogurt shop where you add your own toppings, a sandwich counter. Where does the product stop and the service start? The next time you customize an order, just remember, you're not just a customer. You're taking part in a legal test that's reshaping how we all think about value.